your hand. I think
Yes. And then
it just sits
leave
there.
it.
Is that plugged in on the other end thing?
It is.
Use this side, and then just keep your hand really, really flat.
I think I got a good hit, and then I stopped, and then I clenched it or something.
Yeah, exactly. So just you said you can practice on it. I think it's a really neat lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's a good thing to do.
And I really loved your prayer today.
Oh, thank
That
you.
was great. I realized I didn't even send you the bulletin this week. So
No,
usually
but
I send you, maybe
I had it.
Oh, good.
I thought of
Oh,
that. I thought you
thank
didn't have to
God,
send it
okay.
because I had it. It was
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
I know, and I had
Good.
birds in my prayer, which was sort of cool.
I know.
Yeah.
Birds.
Yeah, and the word nudge.
And the word.
I use nudge, and you use
Yes,
nudge.
you did.
I sort of thought that was interesting.
Birds and nudge.
Yeah.
That's great. I know. I love like the kind of word banks that you can make from your shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Thanks,
fun.
Nate. Yeah. Great sermon.
You looking good?
Is the microphone?
your sweet message this morning at prayer time? Well, let me see if I can find the bell. Where's the bell?
It's in here. See the screen?
Yes.
It's
I'm gonna go ring a bell. See if I can get people to come.
towards the back so we can.
Yeah, towards the back so you can sneak out when we get boring.
Yeah.
John, I was thinking about you, like your parking in front of your house. Is it really annoying to have all these people parking in front of your house every Sunday?
Not really, it was really like he's like sugar.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and they.
And that's still gonna be there through
October.
It's so sad, the grass.
It seems like it's taking
Forever.
way longer. It's like, are they going like an inch a day?
I don't know, they hit a electric wire out here, which the lady was
Hopefully take a
But
picture of electricity.
well, they came across the western road with their scoop up, hit the electric line, and it's now down in the ground. But it's still connected.
It doesn't very safe though.
No, and I told the town, I told the cops, I called Eversource, they don't seem to be perturbed at all.
And Bedford Road is absolute
It was a mess.
mess now. And, you know, however they patch it, I mean, I get it. It's a
Well,
lot.
they're gonna resurface it, I'm sure.
I hope so. But that's gonna be a whole nother.
Yeah, yeah. Another event.
And I don't know if they'll be able to do that before. I don't know. I mean, it's I think way more than people
Yeah.
anticipated. I'm sure for you as well.
It's in a pain. I really like the porta potties out there.
Oh yeah, that must have been really
Front
nice.
of the house.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry.
Wow.
Okay, well. You're smart, I think you know. Pictures. Yes. I want to see, what's all about.
So I would just suggest you're gonna be able to see better if you're not in the back row. Just a thought. Just a thought.
See you. Marshall, you missed out on our donut fry yesterday. Oh yeah, like full of sugar and cinnamon on the way home. Was it out of the honey pot? And it was really crowded. But you know, in typical Marshall fashion, some combination of like oh, take a quick right here off the right path and then wait. Yes. And then waiting for a minute to see like he's got to check his map again. I don't know if there's really a trail here or nothing going.
It doesn't matter. We're doing that like we did last time. I just make it
We're right on the, I think in total we were like.
Is this mic working?
We were on
It is.
part where we were literally riding right next to the railroad. Like gone without a fence. Right?
And I'll just say it again. We're going to be showing plans and things that may not be easy to see from a long distance. So, the front row would be a good spot for viewing. And I won't spit on you.
Hey, good morning again, everybody. I'm Rosemary. You've met Sarah. She sometimes calls us Rosa because we spend so much time together. Almost entirely too much time, I just
But it couldn't be more fun.
It couldn't be more fun. So we're really grateful that you're here to see this presentation. It's the last time we're doing this Dog and Pony Show before the vote tomorrow night. And the vote tomorrow night is as I think someone said, a temperature. It's not like a binding vote of any kind. We're not actually spending a whole bunch of your money once we have this vote. But we'd really like to know if you think this project is going in the right direction. And we think it is. But we're going to tell you all about this project. Many thanks to our entire large team, our advisory team, our Open Doors for Justice team, and our visioning team. So today, we're going to have you out of here in under an hour, 50 minutes, 45 minutes. We're going to go quickly, all
And,
depends on your.
and there'll be lots of time for questions. You can, I'll stay as long as you want to ask questions. Maybe not as long as you want, but yeah.
Exactly. So we just want to tell you about our discernment process to date, and then we're going to take you through the plans. So let's just go right ahead and do it. But this is all in keeping with a vision that was articulated from the very outset, that together we can cultivate the ground to grow generations of moral leaders who will work for social justice and cherish the living earth. We believe that we can build inspiring, flexible spaces to welcome and nourish spiritual seekers of all ages, encourage artistic expression, and foster intergenerational community. That's a lot of goals, and we hope that we are always, always working towards that. With faith in our future, we asked ourselves some key questions. What do we need to do with our buildings? How can we steward them best going forward towards this future? How can we do all the things that we say we want to do in our visioning statement? And how can this project open our doors to the wider community and to the community as we answer our call to serve justice? So I want to read you a little bit about the justice process, because people heard about it from the pulpit. It was a team that got together and met very regularly throughout the spring, and then got together in the summer to figure out what do we want to be doing. This idea was that we readily focused on an idea, which was how can we serve the refugee population? Thank you, Sarah. And what would the impact be on us collectively and individually if we decided to do that? Ultimately, we did identify commitment to meet this moment of need, but not as we first imagined. We had asked the question early on whether we should activate our parsonage as temporary housing for immigrants and refugees. So we asked that question, but decided not to actually decide to use the parsonage, our isolated parsonage. Instead, we decided to shift our focus to education, action, and service, but within the active container of Racial Justice Associates, which is already part of the First Parish of Lincoln. I want to explain that our decision not to house refugees in the parsonage was grounded in a very inclusive, collaborative, and productive process. And the key factors for the decision were that the parsonage was recognizing that the parsonage is isolated. I'm sorry, I have to catch my breath for just a second. I don't know what
Let's
happened.
all breathe. Ready? Let's get unstuck.
Yeah, I need to get unstuck. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to calm down and read you my script so as to not miss any key points. The key factors in our discernment were recognizing that the parsonage is isolated with no public transportation, no readily available social services, and very limited job opportunities. This physical and social isolation would have put an exceptional demand on volunteers here at First Parish in Lincoln beyond what we believe is sustainable at this moment. But we do have the resources to work collaboratively to amplify services and action. Some of you were here in the sanctuary at late August when the Racial Justice Associates held a panel with a variety of agencies and sister congregations that are already underway with their service activities, responding to the urgent need for refugee housing and for acting in solidarity with communities of color that are being targeted for deportation. So we got really inspired by the opportunity to work collaboratively. And to that goal, we've agreed to shift our focus on immigration that was begun within the container of Opening Doors for Justice to the programmatic container of Racial Justice Associates, RJA, in the alphabet of our church. We believe that separating from the actual campaign for Opening Doors will allow that action to move and happen immediately and meet this moment and not be tied up in the complexity and the long-term time frame of the campaign. We do remain committed to keeping an accent mark on justice. Justice emanates from this place. This is where we work, where we plan, where we organize, where we serve, where we act. We believe that the renewed parish house will provide flexible, inspiring spaces within which our shared work for justice will have an ongoing home. And we envision being able to open our doors to partner service groups and advocacy and service groups. The Opening Doors campaign, which is essentially about refurbishing our parish house, will ensure that the buildings themselves are as green as we can build them to be, thereby being an expression of our declaration to cherish the living earth. To that end, we are revitalizing our 2019 Green Study that arrived
Many
at
of
a
you were
thoughtful...
involved in.
Yeah, there were hands in that group, okay. That arrived at a thoughtful list of activities and actions that would increase our energy efficiency. And in the coming weeks and months, we are going to share more about that outcome, the outcomes of that study and what actions were already taken, how we've become greener in the interim, and we will publish updated recommendations that will guide any construction on the parish house and office wing. We think this is an exciting development in our thinking, and we are eager that we keep learning and also planning. And for those of you who might be interested in putting your energy behind greening our building even more, please see one of us or Reverend Nate, and we'd be happy to get you in on the process. Thank you so much.
So then the other piece of our discernment was about the parish house and its grounds. And what we did is we've gone through a very intensive process, many here were involved, where we gathered space requirements from the staff, the congregation, and committees. Back in February, we hired an architect, Marianne Thompson Associates, to work with us to develop a design that met all those requirements. We rolled that out and gathered congregational feedback in May and continued to explore feedback over the summer. Based on all we heard, we have revised that concept to something that does meet all of the requirements, the program requirements, but depends on more intensive space sharing. That was one of the things we tried in response to input. We tried to not have a lot of space sharing, but it turns out that that creates a very ungreen and very costly project. So we have revised things, and that's what we're going to take you through today, is this revised concept. Just to be clear, to reiterate what we've heard 100 times already this morning, tomorrow night there will be a vote to affirm this direction. If you are affirming it, we will continue into quiet fundraising. We'll continue modifying the scope as needed based on what we hear. So know that it's not like that we're locking in stone a conceptual design. But that's our North Star that we're working with right now, and that's what we're looking for your affirmation on. So when we sort of summarize what it is we are trying to do to build inspiring, flexible spaces to welcome and nourish spiritual seekers of all ages, encourage artistic expression, and foster intergenerational community, it really boils down to inspiring, accessible, and modernized spaces that are flexible for groups large and small, that are green and safe, and that creates a sense of belonging for our young families, and that welcomes the broader community. So, what I have up here, you may not be, this is where you're going to really want to move close, I'm telling you people. This is a floor plan of the main floor of the parish house. You see the volume of the auditorium and stage over here, that original building. This is the office wing over here. This is the door we mainly come in to the north. This is the playground and area to the south, down where we are right now. What this project does, there are 3 elements I want to talk about. First of all, when we think about the existing office wing, we're not tearing it down. We're moving some things around a little bit to create better space. Did you notice how big that copy room is and how it just collects and collects and collects? So a smaller copy room. So we can sort of reconfigure the spaces and right-size them for the uses. But all of the ministers continue to have their offices in this space. One of the ministers' offices is combined with space for pastoral care conversations. That was one of the pieces of feedback, that it would be nice to have a beautiful space to welcome someone in grief, to welcome a couple looking to get married. So we have that. We have another minister office. We have a couple of flexible use meeting rooms. We've got staff offices, RE offices, and, very important, it gave us room to move the bathrooms out of the entryway into the hallway. Oh, how fabulous. Right? The second element I want to talk about is what happens with the original building. This big footprint where the auditorium and the stage and the styrofoam room, Donaldson room, and kitchen. Again, we are not tearing any foundation down. It's a beautiful building. We are looking to make sure that we celebrate and uplift the important functionality it has around this auditorium, around this stage. Let's upgrade the acoustics, let's upgrade the lighting, let's upgrade remote technology, all the things, right? And what would happen if we found a way to get an elevator in this thing? Oh, accessible. So they have an elevator, the most cost-efficient place to put the elevator is in this spot, which, if you're paying close attention and know our space as well, you know that's in the existing kitchen. Who wants an elevator in their kitchen? It's good for the dumbwaiter, right? Isn't there a dumbwaiter idea? Anyway, but that meant that the kitchen needed sort of an additional footprint. In the current building, we have this room called the Donaldson room. The Donaldson room is so flexible, it's confused about its identity. Is it a hallway? Is it a room for RE? Is it a meeting room? Is it somewhere to house lots of tables for some? What is it? And there's too many things happening in too many places. What this plan allows then is to create a lovely shaped room, a little bit bigger than our current Garrison room, where folks can meet and all of those things. And you're gonna ask, what about all those other uses? And now I want to talk about the third space, which is where the magic happens. What we are trying to do in this project is create something in that connection space between the old building and the new building. As I was out walking my dog this morning, it occurred to me that we could draw an analogy between our two denominations and this congregation that creates all kinds of spiritual movement and community in the intersection of two things. That's what this is about. What do you think? Pretty good, right?
That good morning walk idea.
So in this space, we create, right now, we got some toilets here, okay? The toilets I mentioned are going. What we can create is a relatively small additional footprint that would create room for a large gathering, flexible use space, bigger than our current Donaldson room, where we could house those community dinners or whatnot, that also connects to the auditorium, because right now where that organ is, we can remove the organ, insert beautiful folding glass doors that allow interpenetration between the auditorium space and this gathering space, allow it to function beautifully as a pre-function space, or if you're holding a memorial service in here and want to go to or if we're worshiping here and we want to have hospitality there.
I think that's good.
Okay, it's up to you.
All right. So one of the things we're also trying to do is improve the flow and figuring out how do you get into our buildings when you approach them. One of the things we started off with in the very beginning was how do we connect this campus, this part of the campus, with that part of the campus. And we looked to creating some sort of accessible entrance to the south, which is this side, that's the north. So you will see in a minute this new space that's being dropped in here, this knuckle, this connector, is a beautiful gabled room. And it will extend, of course, down to the lower level where the playground is now, where you'll be able to access from here to there at a handicap accessible grade path into the lower level of this new building that you will then be able to rise to the main floor, either by elevator or by a beautiful set of open stairs that are going to connect from the lower level to the upper level. Our east entrance, where people come when they're over at Bemis and then they cross the street, we want to be able to, although we're not changing much with this entrance, we do want to get better at the way we've landscaped the exterior, the way we have signage, and that there'll be an actual corridor now created so that you don't have to move through an activity that's happening in the former Donaldson room, but you can walk down and you can probably wave from that long distance to our administrator, who will be in this lovely glassed-in office that will greet you when you first come into the north entrance. So you'll see someone will see you and welcome you. We're going to be staying, our culture is to come in at the north entrance, the main entrance that we have now. That will stay there, but we hope it will be a very improved entrance. We'll be eliminating the steep stairs, creating stairs that make a turn, are more shallow, have a place for pause, and you'll enter into this area under a covered porch, so when you're loading stuff in and out with all your boxes and have to drop things off, you or they or the people you're with are not getting soaking wet. How's that?
Right?
We're going to continue
Do you want
on.
me to? Yeah.
Yeah. So just a quick pass through the other floors of our buildings. This is our upper level, and right now we have a tenant in the upper level. We call it, they're known as Beehive, but these spaces are also shared with our RE program. We're hoping that in having moved from our dream-sized vision, cutting our costs significantly to what we're calling our right-sized vision, we will be able to spend some resources on upgrading these spaces, improving our storage, and making it more available to both our tenants and our RE programs. We'll be adding a bathroom. This is not the new drawing.
No.
Okay.
No, because that hasn't been reviewed by our team yet.
Okay.
But there is an elevator, and there is either the existing bathroom, it's scary, but it stays, which would give us more classroom space, or we decide we want an ADA compliant bathroom, still in discernment.
Still in discernment, right. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much there, but we're building more storage. All these rooms we hope will have better accessible storage so that our teams are not dragging things up and down stairs every Sunday.
Right. And we've been in conversation, just to be clear, with Laura Venesi, our RE program, and with Beehive, and with Magic Garden, to continue to keep them involved and included in the process.
Yeah, so next slide. So those of you who may not know, we also rent out our lower level of our 1952 edition, and this is inhabited all week long, all year long, by a group called Magic Garden with their children under 2 and under. And we will be able to give that space a little bit more zhuzh, but I want to point out the stairs that would take us up to the upper level, the elevator that will take us to the upper level. Thank you to that elevator that will help all the Christmas fair stuff that happens, such a Christmas movie. That stuff up from the basement won't be a long fire, what was that called?
The
Fire
brigade. The brigade.
Yeah. A grown-up bathroom will happen here, not just like for the staff and for all of us who are using it. But it will also flow out to this, you'll see in a little bit, our re-landscaped area to the south that will still be accommodating the Magic Garden tot lot and regular playing areas. But we'll talk about that in a second. If this is me still? There's
Yeah,
north
still
view.
going.
Okay, so I'm up in the north. Just a quick look at a rendering that we have here for you, illustrating this is the new addition. Gabled, covered roof, tying the two buildings together. Accessible. The ramp will be redone, so it's an ADA graded ramp a little farther away from the building, so you won't be getting hit by dropping icicles. We hope that this will be, the thing that I love the most about this is when you enter now into this space, instead of the bathrooms, can we say feng shui? Is that the proper? You will just enter into light and the views that you'll see to the south, and as you step a little farther in, also to the fields in the west. And because of the work that we're doing, we'll now be able to take some of the key recommendations from the 2019 Green Report to improve our HVAC in the West Wing, which is currently not really usable 3 months of the year, June, July, and August, because it gets so hot in there. To do that, we will finally be able to do the insulation and the improved windows for this wing. Just a prettier picture. I also want to point out, although, the little dots here, that indicates shingles that exist on the 1892 building. and we will be refinishing the exterior so that there's a little more architectural coherence between the two buildings.
A couple other things to point out. On the west wing of that new community space are solar panels. You can see the addition of windows. That's where the Minister and Pastoral Care office is, with views out over the field to the west, and we'll also have views out over the playground. Just so you can sort of see them in rendering.
And just a consideration, it's not really shown here as well, but because it is south and west views, and those would have a lot of heat gain in the summertime, we're anticipating using a louver process, a louver structure. I don't have architect speak, I'm sorry, but there'll be louvers there in order to cut down on that heat gain, but still allow all the beautiful light.
And I'm sorry that it's pale. That's just how the watercolor sketches are that came from our architect.
So this is just, again, a little sketch. It really is not a full model rendering for you, but this is what I was talking about. As you enter in from the north entrance, you'll see this is the glassed-in office that we're talking about for Sylvia, where someone can greet you, you can ask questions, and it's that view straight out to the fields in the southern. I think we have another step in that we can actually see a little bit further in. I think this is what's illustrating the glass doors going into the auditorium, and just this feeling of surprise. And we're working on details of this, but sort of a low ceiling as you first come in. We might be able to tweak this somewhat, and then the surprise and graceful feeling of that soaring ceiling like we have in the Stearns room now. However, one additional thing, just for those who are just in coffee hour, we are very attuned to the noise factor, and we understand that the technology is such that if we were to do a wooden ceiling, again, like we have in here, there would be spaces between it, and behind it would be a sound dampening material. So we're really thinking hard about lighting, function, flexibility, and comfort.
And one of the things, as I transition, you see some sketched in furniture. One of the things, because this space needs to be flexible, we will need to be considering is what furniture is in here, how do we move it out so that when we want to have psalm soup and those round tables, where does that stuff go? So there's some detailed work to work out around how we share effectively on those occasions.
Great, thanks.
So now you've walked through the building, perhaps. You've maybe gone down those interior stairs, and now you see those stairs? You've gone down those. And now you're looking back toward the building. You're now in the playground, you're down below, looking toward that connector. And again, we just highlighted this triangular volume is reflecting that new piece, that space between, connector, and whatever you want to call it. And you can see the architecture is echoing the existing building. This has been through the Historic District Review, who are very pleased to see the way that it is in harmonious conversation with the existing Romanesque building, sort of supporting it but not competing with it. It also, as Rosemary mentioned, because you are able to walk at a nice accessible grade into this piece of the building, those of us parking in the south or coming from here to pick up children can find an easy and gracious way into the building here without having to climb that very steep sidewalk to come in the east entrance, or go all the way around to the north, or kind of walk through the classrooms and try and figure out, where do I find the stairs? Anyway, it kind of clarifies that in a very nice way. Again, as we've shown before, a sketch to kind of illustrate it, showing sort of some softening landscaping in front of it. Again, those solar panels, keeping our existing solar panels, of course. And then our landscape plan. In all of these matters, we are at a conceptual level. This landscaping plan really, now you can see this path that we keep talking about. This path moves us from Bedford Road across at a very gentle grade, goes up a little bit and then down a little bit, and it brings you into this place where the stairs are. What happens right now, this is our existing playground, and this path actually claims some additional outdoor space from the sort of steep south lawn. This part of the south lawn is very, very steep. But here we could think about where we put our maypole, for example. Right now we're teetering up at the top of the hill, or could this be a sort of performance space? Perhaps there are occasions when the choir might be performing there and we could imagine ourselves seated in this sort of almost amphitheater hillside. Parking stays as it is. We are exploring whether, rather than this head-in parking here that feels a little dangerous, maybe not so dangerous to pull in, but definitely uncomfortable as you're backing out, whether that would be pull in and drop off and loading. That's what's shown here, something we are still in discernment about. A space here for drop off and loading. And really thinking about, we're working with MVVA, they're fabulous landscape architects. We don't have details, but do know where it says play. There will be playground equipment. There's a tot lot that would be enclosed. A Magic Garden and we need a space safe for very young children. So that would be here, and the other children could be playing in this area. All fencing enclosed in nice shrubbery. You know that chain link fence? Maybe somebody feels nostalgic about it. Okay. One thing that felt really important, as Rosemary led off with, was the way we connect that parish house with this piece of our campus and with all of the cultural and town and conservation jewels that surround us. So this path also could be accessible for someone from the library, whatever it might be. It encourages intergenerational encounters with these different kinds of spaces. That was something we heard loud and clear, that we want more just opportunities to bump into each other. It also creates, if we spill, something we didn't mention, we will be able to, this is thinking about if we were on the upper floor in the performance hall, you know there's all those tables and chairs, that scary little place that comes outside. Those get cleaned up, we put some storage underneath the stage, we rationalize the storage, so we would be able to actually move out into the outdoor space from those doors and have actually a visual connection between those lingering after worship and the playground below, which is just a nice additional sort of visual intergenerational connection.
And please know that all of this is still, as Sarah said, in the conceptual phase. This is not a final landscape design. I mean, the minute we saw it, for example, this is not going to be a straight line. I just don't want people to say, like, what were they thinking? So lots is still being developed.
And it feels like this playground space feels like a really important gift and connection to the town of Lincoln. The other public playground in town is at the schools and can be hard to access. This isn't it's probably the jewel of our site, that playground, with the views out to the conservation land and all that. And I kind of love that we give that to our children. I think that is all we have, Rosemary.
Okay? So,
What happens
So,
next?
What happens next is we have tomorrow night, again, this is a take your temperature. Are we moving, having listened, having done these presentations, Sarah and I met all summer long. We had about 50 people come to different small groups to see these plans, give us feedback, which is how we got to this right-sized design. So if we are to vote yes, it's to say to the Opening Doors team, we think you're moving in the right direction. There's work to be done. You'll keep listening to us, but go ahead and initiate the quiet fundraising part of this campaign. Continue refining the scope and the design. And that's what we would do. And in the winter of 2026, sometime January, February, we would come back to the congregation.
If all things go well.
We'll come back
We
to
may
you
need more
again,
time.
say where we are in our quiet fundraising, whether we have the momentum or not, and then there would be a real vote. I mean, this is a temperature vote, but we need this to know that we have your support. But then, and you'll have another chance in January, February to say, okay. If no,
We stop. And FPL will discern the scope and cost to refurbish the parish house and playground. It'll be paint,
right.
those sorts of things. We don't have that. I mean, architects could come up with a square footage estimate, but that would be up to the congregation and parish house. And FPL would raise money to replenish our capital reserve funds, which is the fund that would pay for that kind of work.
Over 10 years. That's a fund. That's part of our entire campaign right now, is to replenish the capital campaign fund. So there'll be funds
Capital Reserve Fund.
Capital Reserve Fund. So you'll be hearing tomorrow night the cost of this project. plus the capital reserve, plus the landscape design for the playground. So come,
Yeah.
vote. We need your support. Questions, comments? We can go back to any of these drawings. Maybe go back to the floor plan if that's. Yes, Jane.
Gladys, you've done, you hustled in the weeds since what I saw last week, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, well, last week we had received the stuff from the architect 11 hours before we presented. So we were kind of like, well, what does she have for us next? So yeah, so we're a little more polished today.
I'm in the sidewalks, I know that early on, spring, last week, you talked about having choices, and I'm kind of glad you don't have choices with, dollar amounts, because the vote, no vote would then be back to choices again. And I kind of like to look forward to one, because there's only so much, like for instance, up there on this third floor, second floor, whatever, where Beehive is. Are those existing rooms, are you changing?
Those are existing rooms. We're not, the only wall that's potentially changing, there's not actually a wall there now, and so,
That's what I'm saying. So
yeah, this, we don't know, this is a question, this is one of those, we need to really work on this, because what we have is some beautiful western light that comes in this corner room, so the idea of putting a beautiful bathroom, accessible though it may be hurting our arts program and use of a beautiful space. So we're looking at flipping this around.
Actually, what it is that there is an existing non-code compliant bathroom right here. If any of you have been up to the third floor, you're familiar with
Oh, I
that.
think you need to have a bathroom up there.
Oh, yes,
It's got
yes.
sunshine,
So there will
window,
be a bathroom.
another room on
So
the
there
wall.
will be a bathroom up here. There is a bathroom up here. And so one possibility would be to say, we can grandfather it in, let's stick with that, which allows us to claim all of this space, which is right now beautifully lit classroom place, and create a large room.
So it's one of those things, it's like, this is why we're saying this is concept, this is not like, we're not done. There are like many measurements
Yeah,
and
well, you can
things.
put windows in walls, and so you can get the light.
Of course,
coming
yeah.
into-
I said, I teacher.
The other thing, just to sort of pick up what Jane is hinting at, we aren't trying to do major reconstruction, reconfiguration of spaces on that third floor. Similarly, down at the Magic Garden level, we aren't trying to the spaces are working pretty well. We need to figure out some storage. We need to add that bathroom. We need an elevator. The elevator does impinge on some space that Magic Garden uses for meetings, so we are in conversation with them. Those meetings don't happen very frequently.
Right.
We actually have some meeting space up on the on our main floor that isn't used all this. So anyway, this is the idea of sharing, and let's design for the sharing rather than sort of fall into it, after 30 odd years of of use and patterns. Who else has a question?
Can we talk about Alice?
I've got a question from Loretta. I'm going to bring you the mic because there are people online that way they can hear you.
I'm just curious,
Yeah.
I'm curious, during the design process, were there studies of how the big auditorium could be used either in dedicated or flexible ways? So that, if you could just turn the slide to the, so is that space going to be used the same way it's been used over all these years, like May Market and Touch of Christmas and Pageant, and maybe just those few times a year, or have there been explorations that look at how to reuse that big space, that very big volume that all of this hinges around, in a more updated way? And if not, then will it just be getting resurfaced if this whole scheme?
So, great question. I will just add, there are more times a year that it's used. We do some rentals to a local theater program that's like an after-school and weekend kind of thing. Our music program really wants to expand and have more concerts in there. And also,
Retreats.
sorry?
We use it a lot for retreats as well.
Yeah, retreats, yoga classes, things like that. So we know, one of the things that we're really, it's an important question in terms of our usage. We know that we need to have more usage of spaces for them to be efficient spaces. But they're gonna get the upgrade not only in surfaces and storage. For example, we're hoping for like pneumatic drawers underneath the stage for all those tables and chairs. Better storage for our bell choir. So choir was rehearsing in there, but then they found that they loved it down here better because it's just cozier and prettier and better lighting. So we're hoping with our cozier, better lighting and surfaces, choir will want to return here for their rehearsals. And it is still a good question. How much more can we be using this space? It's not going to be, we did talk about everything from like creating the stage, like glassing that in and having that become a meeting room space, and then be able to be opened for worship purposes, but that kind of cut back on the people who want it for theater performances. So it's been a real weighing, and you know,
Right.
thoughts are welcome.
Yeah, and I just would add from a sort of worship perspective, we do worship in this space 3 or 4 times a year. Our ministers are piloting some alternative worship services because we can worship in a different format in this
Starting
place.
next month, right? That's going to be an evening service that's going to start up here once a month.
So there is sort of growing, and I think right now it can be hard to feel inspired to use this space. So that's part of the conversation, and it's an ongoing piece of discernment with the community, right? Like, what exactly is happening? There are a few times a year where we need all of it, and we would need it, say, for a memorial service or other kinds of celebrations, that right now, folks aren't drawn to use that space, just given its acoustics, lighting, finish, etc. So we do hope that it could be an additional rental stream. I had another little thought. Yeah, Tom?
You haven't really mentioned technology and how that fits into
So
the
important.
concept of the, refurbished space, and it seemed like it could, be part of a draw to people around town using the building. Has that been thought about much?
Thought about a lot. These are one of the things that are waiting on the vote, and how much detail, whether bringing in sound engineers, lighting specialists,
Wi-Fi, remote participation.
Exactly. Our staff already has some trouble. I think you walk around the room, I'm looking at Sarah in the back, walk around the building looking for a signal, or you can't get a signal from this place to that place. So all that technology has to be upgraded.
I mean, one of the things I was thinking of, in Rockland, Maine, for example, they have the Metropolitan Opera broadcast on Sundays, and that seems to be a draw from all over that part of Maine. I mean, doing something like that on Sunday afternoons, if it's still possible.
Absolutely.
Show it in that space,
Yeah.
people coming down.
And I think that is an important point, because when we think about the performance assets around Lincoln, Bemis does have a stage, but you have to kind of either go up those creaky stairs or take a kludgy elevator, and there really isn't any pre-function space. So the idea that you could put on some kind of performance or performance in the round and have space here. It's a different scale of space than is available at the schools. So it's a unique performance asset. It would then be, it's a discernment for us. Like, is that something we want to step into having as part of? And in terms of discernment, I want to bring up the kitchen. That's another place of discernment. We have historically had a certified commercial kitchen. Is that in our future? How do we design for that? We haven't answered that question at this point. We hear people who say, absolutely, and we people who say, we can't even get people to get certified. What are you talking about? So my point is just there's lots yet to discern about the specifics of use and whatnot.
And we want to hear your comments and questions, because that's the only way we can only think so much ourselves, and our architectural advisors are fabulous, but only can think so much. You all have expertise and thoughts.
Oh, okay, Mark. Rosemary's going to bring you a microphone.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. Question about the HVAC design. The efficiency, there are all kinds of trade-offs that are available now. That I assume that's been considered, including such things as, I don't know, groundwater HVAC and solar panels and that sort of thing. Is that all figured in the design someplace?
It will be. We are still so conceptual that we can't fully answer what exactly it is. Our commitment is to be as green as possible. We have, I think I mentioned, we are imagining that we will add solar panels on the roofs where we can. And do you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure. We just had a meeting on Friday, a walkthrough with a group called Greener U. Some of you may know it, who will give us at least a high-level view, building on our 2019 report from Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light. What else might we be thinking about doing? There are cost-benefit analysis that has to happen. We're certainly going to be using as much electric as possible if we go in that direction, heat pumps if we go in that direction, phasing things out. Our boilers, our furnaces are currently in pretty good shape according to...
Good news and bad news.
Yeah, the good news and bad news is they're in pretty good shape. They don't really have to be replaced yet, so that's a weighing thing, but now would be a good time to do it. Should we investigate geothermal? I think we should ask the questions, and I think that it would be great if we can't do it now, could we do what another congregation is doing in Salem? They are becoming the hub for the conversation in Salem about how can geothermal be happening as a shared power source in their town. Framingham's done it. There are grants available that, could we be digging in collaboration with Bemis, the library, town hall, and sharing our power that way? Could that happen in this project? Timing, probably not, but we should certainly be opening the doors to that conversation. Don't you think? We should at least be thinking, no? We should think. No?
Mr. Eaton.
Thank you for an excellent presentation, as usual. Just full of things that you thought about, tried to move us ahead. Would you kindly switch back to a view from the south of the whole?
Patience.
There you go.
Whoa,
Okay. I'm a little troubled by the triangle that is highlighted here from an architectural point of view. Obviously, you're trying to get light into that space, and should it be through a highly glassed-in triangle, and triangle on the north side as well, and obviously some light comes from the west part of the day. But I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that the angle in that triangle is to reflect the triangle of the Stone Church upper facade. It's completely different material. I'm troubled by that from an architectural perspective.
Thank you.
One more thing. I mean, obviously, you'd like to have skylight. There's no question, but I want to have light into that space. But should it be through an architectural feature like that? I question that.
I want to thank you for that, and I will say that there are so many architectural opinions, which is why we've hired an architect, and why we have many of our First Parish architects as part of the committee, and why we have taken this to Historic District, because they also have some strong opinions about it. And I will say that there are ways to think about, maybe we don't want this glass, maybe we want smaller windows. Maybe there are other approaches, and the whole process of design is a never reach consensus kind of process.
Yeah.
So I just want to name that.
And I want to just name that we are aware of the issue about the heat gain because this is to the west. And anyone who's done a meeting in the Garrison Room in late spring, which is down towards here before
Kind of like I
this
feel
glass
right
was-
now, actually.
We know. So I personally don't know, but I bet someone in this room knows, about the kinds of studies that we're going to need to do to assure ourselves that the heat gain in the lower sun, when it's hotter. We have put louvers also in this section, but should that happen, Is it still too much gain? Is it pretty but not practical?
And how do we balance the thermal gain that we want for heat, that's good energy use, with the unwanted? So it's studies to be done. Yeah. Others.
Jane,
I'm talking about the landscaping,
landscaping.
because I was concerned about the drop-off. You need the mic. Oh, yes. I was concerned about the drop-off at the bottom, south side, and I was kind of pleased to see you have something on the west side. Do you need both of them? My concern is on the west side, it goes up steps. Is there some way that a ramp could be put there so that, and do you really need both of them?
And so I'm just going to echo what Rosemary said, that we are conceptual. So our landscape team said, oh, there should be a ramp if we do this, but we're not even sure we're going to do this. So if we don't do this, maybe we want this. But great feedback.
You know, you sort of responded to my earlier comment of the springtime by putting that west side space. And then I said, well, how come you didn't take it off? And I understand that, you know, it's conceptual, yes. Will we have any dollars tomorrow?
So tomorrow night, as Rosemary mentioned,
I didn't catch everything.
we will be presenting the current estimate for the full cost of the building, plus the estimate for the cost of the landscaping, plus the amount that we need to raise to replenish our capital reserve fund for a total. We will also give you an indication. We've had a handful of early fundraising conversations, and we will be able to give you an indication of what the financial support looks like so far.
Well, I like the idea to switch the traffic flow too.
Yeah, the traffic flow stays the way it is currently. Yeah. Any others? I want to wrap us up. It's getting mighty hot in here. Gina, did you have something? You're looking engaged, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah.
And if there's something you don't want to say or ask now, you can always, of course, get in touch with either one of us. We're available 24/7 virtually.
No, never say that.
I just want to say thank you to these folks for this remarkable job that they have been doing.
It's kind of fun, you know, one of the things we go, you know, when you're a volunteer, which you all are, there are days, there are moments where you think, oh, you know, geez, I live up here. And I will say, this is not our project. We are shepherding this project for us together. And it has actually been not only a joy to work together, we do have a good time, but a privilege to have the opportunity to think about the future like this. I mean, we are all so stuck in this moment and are so filled with fear and confusion. And there is a tendency, as I look, you know, watch the portfolio since we started this sermon last year, you know, and being so unsure about so many things. And to kind of come back to each other every week as we meet, to say, we're doing this for a future we believe in, a future we have faith in, a future we want to be prepared for. And I know it looks like a building, but I think it's so much more than that. So that's why we keep doing it together with you. We really appreciate your coming to this, so that we didn't do this for no reason. So thank you so much for coming. Please come tomorrow evening, and we'll see what's forward.